My favourite part of Uncharted 4 is when Nathan and Sam reach Libertalia and Sam says, "Wow, I don't think anybody's ever been here. These lands have never been charted," and then Nate says maybe a normal person's travels haven't reached their end here, but this certainly isn't Uncharted for a thief's end. Anyway, here's one of my other favourite parts. For the game's first 10 chapters, in classic Uncharted style, the lead characters get closer to the treasure without actually finding it. They steal a cross in Italy, which leads them to a grave in Scotland, where a map invites them to King's Bay in Madagascar, which points them towards one of 2 towers in a Malagasy city. And thus begins Chapter 11, Hidden in Plain Sight. From the very first shot, this chapter is showing off. The top of the stairs gives a good viewpoint of the entire market, with literally dozens of NPCs, somewhere around 70 or more, on screen at the same time, really letting you take it all in before entering the crowd. As creative director Neil Druckmann said, the developers were able to pack a lot more into each level, have more happening on screen at once, and make the whole environment more dynamic. We're at a point where technology isn't driving our decisions, it's our creativity. There are lots of small details that are easy to miss throughout the following sequence too, and I did miss a lot of them on my first playthrough, like the passport office, which has some minor interactions and some dialogue referencing the game Papers, Please.
Could be worse. Could be our Stotska.
There are plenty of NPCs having conversations and selling food, some impressively modelled meat, and some very nice cows. And how many men does it take to paint over the same section of wall again and again? Some of these interactions can stack too, of course. You can meet a lemur who jumps on you as you walk away, but if you buy an apple beforehand, the lemur takes it from you when it jumps up, earning you a trophy. Alternatively, in at least one instance for me, if you buy the apple after interacting with the lemur, Nate takes the core all the way to the tower, including when jumping around. He's very attached to it. Exploring the tower with Sully, if only briefly, definitely has a classic Uncharted feeling. I'm especially reminded of the French chateau in Uncharted 3, but you could take your pick of any of them. The puzzle that follows has a similar feeling too, not just through the climbing of the tower to ring the bells in the correct order and making quippy remarks while doing so, but also the relevance of external knowledge, whether it be history, geography, or in this case, zodiac signs. I love that the game relies on you to pay attention to your environment to proceed too. You have to climb across the clock hands to get to the other side, but one of them is facing the wrong direction, so you have to go back inside and manually change the clock hands yourself. There are more subtle hints too, like the scratches when climbing to let you know to keep going up outside of the camera view. And it wouldn't be fair to let you climb the tower without also letting you get to the very top, thanks to some very hidden handholds, granting you another beautiful view of the entire surroundings, and a nice music cue if you wait long enough. After this, why ring the bell using the little handle when you can just swing on it and do it yourself? Which in classic Uncharted style breaks it, leading to a brief action sequence in which Nate has to dodge the moving parts and quickly get to safety. But at least I got the door open. The sequence afterwards is enjoyable too, a nice way to actually see all the pirates that we're talking about throughout the whole game, but also a neat puzzle. It's like something you might find in the New York Times puzzle section or something, but this has the added benefit of actually unlocking the next room when you get it right, and there's little more satisfying than the pieces finally clicking into place. I love that the puzzle gets more difficult each time, from 2 pirates to an easy 3 to a more difficult 3 to 4, with 2 of them unknown. The reference to Monkey Island protagonist Guybrush Threepwood is fantastic too, and unsurprising given that Neil Druckmann has cited Monkey Island 2 as one of his favourite games. And being able to take a photo of Sully on Nate's phone will never get old. I'll always appreciate games that reward players with trying silly things like that. After this, a phone call brings Rafe back into the picture and puts us and Sam directly in harm's way. And then the chase sequence begins. This is also where the game's 2015 gameplay trailer begins. That is, after you stand still for 30 seconds to get a trophy, a reference to the controller malfunction when game director Bruce Straley showed off the demo on the E3 stage. There's something about retracing your steps back through a location that is interesting, and actually quite rare in a Naughty Dog game, but it makes this gameplay especially unique, particularly in the second half of this sequence, as the once bustling markets now become a shooting ground. It ties into the narrative a little, demonstrating Shoreline's recklessness and their willingness to let civilians get injured or killed and buildings get destroyed, something we've seen before. It also lets Naughty Dog show off some of their talents, like their level design, particularly in the placement of buildings for cover and climbing, and their environmental work. Just look at all those gorgeous particle effects. One thing I never actually realized about this sequence is that you can beeline straight for the car. I've always followed the same path as the E3 trailer, through the passport office, up the stairs, onto the roof, but I was surprised to learn that you can skip that section entirely. I guess I'll never be a speedrunner. Speaking of the car, I could talk about this game's car mechanics forever. It's somehow smoother and more enjoyable than some games whose mechanics are built around cars, and there are so many small details, like Nate changing gears and pulling the handbrake. It makes me want to play a 10-hour game entirely about the trip between Lincoln and Pittsburgh in The Last of Us with these same mechanics. No need for enemies or obstacles or anything, just non-stop driving, with occasional stops to look for fuel. Your move, Naughty Dog. Alternative option, Uncharted. There's a lot more that I like about this sequence too, like how easy it is to kill the first enemies with the car. I appreciate how early on the path begins to open up as well. Either follow the road or take the shortcut, a precursor to the next part. When you enter the more crowded area, the paths open up. There are so many different options for roads and alleys to escape the truck. It doesn't feel like we're simply driving down a predetermined path. It's like we actually are desperately on the run from a murderous machine gun truck, taking whatever path seems like the quickest and easiest one to safety. A nightmare if we could actually get out and look for collectibles, but thankfully this is a pure escape sequence. Ultimately though, all of the paths lead to the same little market, which is the developer's way to get you back to a predetermined path. Basically where they want you to be, so you'll be facing the direction they want later on. Also a way to show off their impressive models and animations, I guess, and give us some more fun banter between Nate and Sully.
Oh, this was really a great idea, Nate. Do you want to drive? Oh, you're doing just fine.
Those who watch the gameplay trailer likely know that you have to go left after the market, but the game kind of points you to the right at first, only for you to face traffic and turn back around, really reinforcing that feeling that the world is alive and you're actively making these decisions. It's important that the game establishes that we feel in control of our actions, not just to ensure the gameplay is engaging and alive, but also for a narrative purpose that will soon become clearer. The little roadwork part later on similarly reinforces this. The world continues around us, we're just passing through on our own selfish quest. And of course it shows off a little more, especially those bricks. There's a reason Bruce Straley went out of his way to hit them when playing the game at E3. That this entire sequence is directed downhill is clever design. No matter which way we turn, we know that we have to continue to move downhill. If we somehow take a turn uphill at some point, we know we're heading in the wrong direction and need to change course. Thanks to some shots earlier in the chapter, we know Sam is at the bottom of the hill, so that's where we need to go. As we reach the bottom of the hill, the game directs us with leading lines, the path, and of course the smoke trail. And then, though our goal hasn't changed, get to Sam, our immediate concern does. From driving away from the truck, to driving towards this convoy. It's wild how much detail goes into the environment and all of the buildings considering we speed straight past them. There continue to be little details too, like the cars that drive past and the onlookers on the balcony that often go unnoticed but really emphasize the living world and ongoing narrative. I like the chickens and goats too, especially these ones with impressive jumping abilities for some reason. I do often wonder what it would be like to experience this gameplay sequence without having seen the trailer, because even having seen it multiple times, I still think the last part of the car chase, jumping over water while grappling onto the moving truck from the moving car, is an incredible action move. It's ultimately just a single button press. Your only options are to press the button and continue, or avoid it, fall in the water and fail. But the speed at which it all happens still makes it feel so intense, and personally speaking, I still feel like I'm in control. The convoy sequence that follows reminds me a lot of the caravan sequence in Uncharted 3. Jumping between trucks and shooting at motorcycles, except instead of jumping back onto your horse to proceed, you hijack the cars around you. And yet again, you're given some freedom on how to play this sequence, or at least there's the illusion of freedom. Ultimately, you still have to kill a bunch of enemies, get into a car, and drive alongside Sam, but the manner in which you do it, and how long this sequence takes, is up to you. Sam does a good job of basically riding the enemies around in circles until Nate has finished his necessary gameplay at least. Don't mind me while I surf in the mud and swing around on my grappling hook. It's fun to toy with the enemies when you know what's coming as well, like watching the guys on the back of the motorbikes preparing to jump onto your car, only to change their mind when you back away a little. And again. And again. Interestingly, in some ways, and maybe the same is true for other action set pieces like this, you can almost split this full sequence into the 3-act structure, which generally corresponds to full narratives and not brief scenes, but let me explain. For the first act, we have the initial shooting and driving sequence, which is kind of the inciting incident, establishing the truck as a near undefeatable beast. The second act is this dragging and convoy sequence, where the stakes get higher. We're not just shooting and we're not just driving away, but we're actively shooting while driving or being driven at high speeds, all while Sam is within reach. And then, just as we reach him, we get our disaster. The truck catches up and Nate's car is flipped. Time for our third act resolution. One thing I really love about the crash is that the camera follows Nathan the whole time, not only helping us understand how he survived the crash, as if we'd have any doubts considering what we've just been through, but also really putting us in his shoes in this moment. He doesn't see where Sam goes after the truck crashes, so neither do we. He doesn't know if there are enemies surrounding him at this time, so neither do we. All we see is who we are, Nathan Drake. And it's important that the game reminds us that we are Nathan Drake, that we are embodying this character fully and feeling the same things he feels. Another thing I really appreciate about this sequence is that there is gameplay of Nate escaping the car. It's not just a cutscene of him crawling, nor is it a simple button press so he starts moving, but we actually have to move the stick in the right direction so he actively grabs the handholds to pull himself out. Naughty Dog developers often speak about wanting to keep the action on the stick, to try and keep players involved in the story as much as possible rather than simply using cutscenes at every possible moment. And this, to me, is a small but effective example of that. And finally, of course, we get the classic run and gun, now on the back of a motorbike, in an epic chase sequence as we finally defeat this damn truck. Naughty Dog sure do love these running towards the camera style sequences. There's no question that we're going to get out of this alive and unharmed. In fact, there's probably even less tension here than, say, Crash Bandicoot's boulder levels or Uncharted 3's sinking ship, since you're actually in full control of your movements there and the obstacles can actually catch up with you. Whereas here, Sam's driving and all we're doing is shooting. But it's still tense and exciting. Being able to finally shoot the truck and watch it gradually fall apart is satisfying, almost cathartic. And watching it explode and flip while you escape in the nick of time is just the cherry on top. The final release allowing you to take a breath after this 10 to 15 minute action set piece. It's so well paced, no part of this chapter moves on too quickly nor outstays its welcome. A significant reason it feels so perfectly dramatic too is due to Henry Jackman's score, not just here but throughout the entire sequence, sitting appropriately in the background for a while before it really begins to swell as you run out of road. I especially love the dramatic touches just as Nathan goes to grapple the truck. Then later, during the crash, it cuts out momentarily, fueling our disorientation alongside Nate's, before returning for the final motorbike sequence, coming to a crashing crescendo just as the truck does. A lot of credit goes to the sound design too. The work on the Jeep alone is incredibly impressive, like all the variations in engine sound, the realistic suspension, the fact that each of the four wheels have their own individual sounds. Good sound design should often go unnoticed, and I think that could be said here. Sam and Nathan ride off into the sunset, conveniently before the authorities arrive, of course. Coming off the high of that epic action sequence, they tell Sully that they have discovered the location of Libertalia, the pirate utopia founded by Henry Avery with vast riches. Nate has just faced one of his biggest challenges so far, narrowly escaping death several times, yet he is choosing to continue this adventure. And we feel excited. We just finished an amazing action sequence. We finally got the best lead possible towards the pirate treasure. This is the highest high in the game so far. But then it all comes crashing down when we find out Elena has tracked us here. Nathan has been lying to his wife for weeks and continues to do so here. He says that he's doing this to save Sam, and while that may partly be true for him, it may have been the catalyst that set this off, it's impossible to deny that he enjoys this too. And when he tries to claim otherwise, he's not only lying to Elena, but to himself as well. And we can't help but feel complicit in that. Not just because we pressed the buttons to make him do all of this, that's part of it, but that would be too easy, but because we enjoyed it too. If you got the same reaction out of that sequence that I did, then you had the time of your life. To then face the reality that you, as Nate, actually enjoyed this while lying to Elena adds some complicity. And of course you probably enjoyed it. It's a video game, an Uncharted game, that's kind of the whole point. But you still can't help but feel a little involved and complicit. When Elena lashes out at Nate, it feels like she's lashing out at us. And when Nate lashes out at Sully, it hurts. It feels like we're pushing away everyone we've loved throughout all of these games. We had the highest high in the action sequence, followed by the lowest low in this character conflict. We're stuck with Sam and our never-ending obsessive quest for this damn treasure. And of course we're going to see it through. Not just because that's what the writers have decided, but also because we feel like we have to. We're in too deep, or at least that's what we'll tell ourselves. If given the option at this point in the game to continue or turn back, would you really turn back? Maybe in real life, but probably not here. We might not necessarily agree with the decisions that the characters are making, but we'll continue playing through this adventure anyway. As Bruce Straley put it, I'm hooked like Nathan Drake is hooked, and therein returns that feeling of complicity. And that's why I think this chapter is one of the best in the entire game and franchise. It has pretty much everything gameplay-wise: walking, interacting, conversing, climbing, grappling, puzzling, quick-time events, fighting, shooting, driving, swinging, leaping between vehicles, running and gunning, while also tying all of that gameplay into the narrative. This isn't an epic action sequence surrounded by scripted scenes that attempt to make some narrative sense and connect it to some semblance of an overarching story. It's a full, thoughtful narrative sequence that uses gameplay not just to connect the scenes, but to enhance them, to tell the story fully, and to involve and immerse the player within these scenes and within their emotions. We're not just viewers, we're participants. That's true for all video games, of course, but it tends to hit me harder with these ones. I remember the strong emotions I felt when I finished Uncharted 3 for the first time, knowing that it was the last time I'd get to be Nathan Drake for a while. Then, when Uncharted 4 came around, you get to do it one more time. And it's even more powerful because we've been in his shoes. We've done these adventures at least 3 times before. Not only do we know how much they mean to Nate, but we also know how much they mean to us, how much we've enjoyed them despite their danger, and consequently we know how much they impact the people around us. Elena has made it clear over the course of the series how much Nate's obsession, and especially his lies, impact her. She warns him not to let it continue, lest it impacts Sully as well. Yet here we are, continuing. And despite our initially noble intentions, we're still enjoying ourselves, still obsessed with this treasure. Though I'm sure they can come close, that's not a feeling that can be replicated in a series of films or television or books. It's not just the length of time, it's the interactivity, our proximity to the characters, that forms those emotions, develops the relationships, and aids those feelings of participation and complicity. The narrative informs the gameplay, and perhaps more importantly, the gameplay informs the narrative. And the result is a piece of art that has stuck with me for a decade, and will undoubtedly stick with me for many more. In this chapter, Nathan Drake chooses adventure and faces the consequences. As the player, we must do the same. After all, as Pirate Captain Henry Avery once said, I am a man of fortune, and must seek my fortune.